What's happening, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Athletes to Athletes podcast. Today, I'm continuing our Black History Month conversations as I sit down and chat with Derrick Furlow Jr., the former University of Tennessee football player who had to overcome injury during his final high school season and truly find his way when his NFL dreams did not come to fruition. Derrick also gives me insight on what it truly meant to him to create his own formula for success and write his first book. Now, before we get to today's conversation, I also want to remind you guys, don't forget to head to the App Store and search Athletes to Athletes to download our new app where we feature a ton of material around NIL, recruiting, and some great content, which includes this podcast. But we're happy to have you back for another episode of the A2A podcast, and we hope you enjoy today's conversation. Welcome back to the Athletes to Athletes podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with a man that I had a chance to meet in Vegas at a different conference, IAF, which was a really, really good time. And I'm glad I got a chance to meet you. And, I even said we're going to have to connect. Derrick Furlow is sitting down with me today. And, I'm so glad we got a chance to connect. And, Derrick, we got to chop it up a little bit about playing sports and being DBs and just, trying to work through the different levels of being in sports now that we're no longer athletes. Before we get into it, though, I want to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
Man, you're right, Brian. It was definitely a pleasure to connect and chop it up, man, and glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me. Like you said, man, Derrick Furlow Jr., originally from Southwest Atlanta, moved around a lot, ended up moving to Griffin, Georgia, to Arkansas, where I came to the University of Tennessee to play football from 2005 to 2009. And, along that journey, the dream was to make it to the league so you can change your family's lifestyle. But, Lord had other plans, and they were bigger than the plans I had for myself, which led me into this space of purpose-driven action, which was to help athletes, being the one that's seeing my peers struggle with their life after sports transition and not want to struggle with those transitions once my playing days came to an end. So I ended up writing a couple books. The first was What's Next, How to Transition Like a Champion. The second being the Transition Playbook, and then did a co-author project with Athlete to Entrepreneur, to eventually that content getting to being utilized in the mental health space. So really, man, that whole the struggle from growing up to playing ball, to getting done playing ball and figuring out what's next for me led to this entrepreneurial lifestyle, this sales background. And now I'm getting a chance to impact, inspire, and empower people by speaking and sharing and just fulfilling my purpose here on earth, man. So I believe I'm finally in alignment with my assignment. So now it's just executing at the highest level day in and day out, just like the game taught us, bro.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's always alignment, assignment, and execution, no matter where it's on or off the field. And, let's talk on the field a little bit. You talked about moving around a little bit, and you always wanted to end up in the league. Like you said, God had other plans for you, but what was it like for you growing up, playing football, playing a number of other sports, and just balancing things out? And like, where did that background, that drive come from to want to get to the Division I level and then, fortunately, the NFL?
Man, it really came out of struggle and adversity and the challenges and the poverty for me. Because when I grew up, when I was being raised in Southwest Atlanta, my mom was a single mom with 3 kids. So we was around the gangs, the violence, the drugs, staying in government housing, staying in Section 8 on food stamps. So the just survival attitude was our everyday lifestyle, man. I remember going to the mailbox and seeing that look on despair on my mom's face when I came back in, and the $72 child support check went in the mailbox, and she had to decide whether she was going to pay the light bill or we was going to eat. So at a young age, wanting more for my life and wanting better for my family, even though I didn't know what it looked like or how to get it, I just knew I was uncomfortable, and a lot of the situation we was in was very uncomfortable. Even though we made the best of what we had, I felt like I had this burning desire that I can be more and do more and have more. And then honestly, at those times, bro, I was playing, we was playing football on the streets, or in between apartment buildings, bro. So I couldn't afford to go play rec ball. Finally, after a lot of moving around through the inner city of Atlanta, we moved down to Griffin, Georgia. When my mom met her husband, which she has today, that's when things got a little bit better because she had some help. She wasn't raising 3 kids by herself. He had 3 kids, man. It was kind of like the Black Brady Bunch. But that's when I was afforded the opportunity to finally play organized sports. And from playing in the street, throw them up, eat them up between the cars, I was really good at not getting hit because, getting hit into a car hurt and falling on concrete hurt. So good at being elusive and fast. But when I had a chance to play organized sports, man, I realized I was like good. And then, I had a couple coaches tell me I was good. So that's kind of how it started. And I got to play again in middle school and my freshman year of high school. And that's when the brand of being good and, man, I could actually be something. And I had a chance to get exposed to guys that were better than me and seeing guys on the TV screen. And that's when they really were like, you know what? Why don't I do this right here to help me change my family's life and get us in a better situation? Because the other options that I saw around me, man, was you selling drugs or you want to be a rapper. But a lot of that, man, involved police. And quite frankly, at a young age, I developed this fear for sirens because I heard them so much. I had this paranoia that they would be coming to my house, even though we hadn't done nothing wrong, or they may be coming to my house because something had happened to my family. So those eliminated those options, man. So really that's how the game or sports became relevant to me. And then it became a process of elimination with sport.
Mm-hmm. What other sports were you playing back then?
Man, so football, basketball, and I really didn't even like track, honestly, but it felt like punishment, but I was okay at it just because I could run.
Yeah.
And it didn't get narrowed down, man, until my stepdad got his promotion. He got this raise, and it took us from Griffin, Georgia to Crossett, Arkansas. And bro, have you ever been to Arkansas?
No, I have not. I've driven through it, but never been to Arkansas.
Good job driving through it, bro. Because ain't much to stop there, especially depending on where you're located at. And I was in the southeast, and bro, I got there, and it was a culture shock. Wasn't for me or my family, but it was a blessing in disguise to get up out of certain situations that you look back on. But when I got them, and that's when I started taking sports serious. And initially, I was going to hoop. And we had a break for Christmas. We came home to Atlanta because that's where all the family was at. And we came back. We had missed a couple games. Actually like 2 games and a couple practices. Coach was like, you need to run 500 bleachers to get back on the squad. And I was like, I don't like basketball that much. So that eliminated basketball. It left football, bro. So at that point, I was locked in. I'm like, okay, this gonna be the meal ticket, man. This gonna be my get out of Arkansas plan. Play this game and see how far it's gonna take me.
For sure. And when did you start to have, and everyone kind of has that, that kind of epiphany out on the field, or that game out on the field where you sit back and you're like, this sport is for me, not just choosing it because a process of elimination, but you're realizing that the sport is choosing you. When would you say that you kind of had that turning point?
So it happened twice, but the second time I bought in. The first time it was a thought. So I moved from Atlanta to Arkansas, and this whole idea, the art of reinvention, I talked about that a little bit in my book. I believe that growing up in Southwest Atlanta, it put me around some elite level athletes, but I was average when I looked around those guys because I was there with them. Mm-hmm. When I removed myself from that environment and got to another place where those elite level athletes weren't at, I became that elite athlete. So that happened with the move by default. And then I had a chance to reinvent myself and not let them see anything but the eliteness. So I knew the guys I had played with and where they was from, how nice they were, but they didn't know that like I wasn't the nicest where I was from. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the nicest here. So that was the thought process that initially happened. I'm like, okay, you come to a new school, they always got these high expectations. You come in, new kid on the block. So you can create your own persona. Mm-hmm. So my persona was going to be that guy. So that was the first thought process, but it really happened in a game, bro. It was probably my sophomore year. No, actually, this was it was. I'm coming through the whole blocking for my fullback. And I ain't really like the block. I ain't really like getting hit. I'm going to get the ball. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm out of there running back in safety. But in the safety, I like to hit you, but running back, I was avoiding getting hit. But the blocking idea, I came to the hole, bro, and there was this linebacker ran smack dab through my face. I'm trying to block like this with my hands. He ran smack dab through my face, bro. My helmet turned. I'm looking out my ear hole. Made the tackle in the backfield. So on the low, I got smacked. I was embarrassed. And then 2, I'm turning my helmet around. And I'm like, bro, what just happened? So I was looking to the sideline like coach was going to pull me out. But he ran the same play again. So at this point, I'm like, oh, it's going to be me or it's going to be him. And, bro, I went full speed and he moved. I'm like, hold on. He didn't really want that contact either. At that moment right there, bro, it was a wrap. Every play, when I had the ball in my hand, it was like it was attacking like I was at safety. I'm going full speed at you. And then I realized, bro, nobody don't really want that smoke on a regular basis, bro.
Yeah.
Like either you the hunter or you the hunted. I became the hunter every time. Offense, defense, I'm hunting. And that's when they realized, oh, bro, this is easy. But it took me getting hit. It took me getting kissed in my mouth by that linebacker, bro, because the helmet went that way. It was embarrassing. So that was that wake up call. I'm like, oh wow, just be that guy, and nobody don't want it on a regular basis, and that's what turned it.
And that's the thing is the coach had to see that, and the coach saw that happen to you and said, you know what? It's either he has to realize it's either going to be him or it's going to be the opponent, you know? So I'm going to run this play again and we're going to really find out how tough he is. Right. So, you know, coaches, they have these cynical ways of making you grow up in the moment. Sometimes it's trial by fire to see how you respond. And it looks like you lived up to that hype. Now, as you've kind of grew into this new mentality and you start hunting instead of letting people hunt you down, when do you start to see it off the field? And by that, I mean, when are the coaches on the next level starting to call? When are you starting to get a little bit more attention for the mentality that you're putting out there? And how did you balance that with being a regular high school kid? Because that's mainly what we are. You know what I mean? When you're an athlete, you're still a regular kid. You know, it doesn't matter what you do when the lights are on. You're still a regular kid, but it's a lot to balance. How did you balance it? And when did you get that first call? And do you remember who it was that called you first or sent that letter to the school? Because back when we were in high school, you had to kind of send a letter to the school. You weren't getting calls at home.
Yeah. So it's funny. Now, whether I balanced it good or not, I'm not really sure. But I remember when I got there, I'm like, okay, I'm here. I don't really want to be here. I can't move. All my family was in the A. I tried to go stay with my pops. My mama didn't want me to. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get out of this place by football scholarship. So I came with my first plan. It's called the Get Out of Arkansas plan. So I'm researching top guys in the state at that particular time. It was a guy by the name of Darren McFadden. I'm sure you know of him. And he had already committed to the University of Arkansas as a sophomore. I'm like, oh, your brother undid this. He got the blueprint. So I went and looked at the stats. I'm like, bro, cool. I just need to rush for 22 touchdowns, 2,000 yards, take the school to a state championship, which was some of the things he had done, some things he hadn't done, but that'll get the school some attention, put us on the map, put me on the map. By default, I'm out. So that was my Get Out of Arkansas plan. So my junior year, that was the goal. And man, sure enough, we started the season off 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. First time in school history starting that thing off 5-0. And next thing you know, we go 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. Finish the regular season undefeated, 10-0. So they Get Out of Arkansas plan starting to work, bro. And I'm like, bro, we got 4 games left, and the fourth one is the state championship. Oh, it's a wrap. So we go to the playoffs. That first playoff game was a tough one. We figured out how to get it done. Second one, we made it look a little easy. That third one, bro, they were smart. They knew we were athletic and fast, so they let the grass grow, wet the field, and it was like 12 degrees, bro. We couldn't run for nothing. Everything we did, we tackled ourselves. We played tackle. We played no hand touch football and failed every single time we tried to run. The whole game, they ended up winning, and I was frustrated, mad, angry. But sure enough, I get to the house, and you start getting those letters to the school or those interest calls, and that's when I realized, oh man, this thing actually worked. It didn't work out how I thought it was going to work out in that first year of having that plan in place, but I started getting some attention. And at that point, I had a chance to say, okay, this thing working. Let me just run the thing back next year. And then I got invited to some camps. So initially, man, first place I wanted to go was University of Georgia. And I had a chance to go on some unofficials and go to football camp. I think I ended up going to visit there like 5 times between football camps and unofficials. And, you know, you had the smaller schools that reach out. And I had already made up my mind, like, I ain't going to one of these small schools. So I was really, that was the part I'm unsure how I handled it well, because I know the young arrogance, ego, prideful as a young man, when you start realizing the dynamics and the strength of schedule and the attention, you start moving a little different. So that's when I started to show some of the small schools, man, yeah, I ain't really interested. I know where I'm going. So handling it well, not so much on that end from the business of athletics, but when I was in school, bro, really, I was there for a reason, and that was to get out of there. So really, bro, I surrounded myself with my brother and a couple of my homies that was, when they came over to the house, they knew we was from Atlanta, and the mission was to get out of that particular place. So from working where we had a job at McDonald's, bro, I made sure the whole football team got hired. That's the only people I wanted to be around.
Yeah.
When we wasn't at work, bro, and we wasn't at school, and we wasn't getting no extra work in, we was at my crib playing Madden and playing AA. Like that, it was surrounded by football and guys that had a different mindset, because most people in the area, man, they'll be born there, they grow up there, they work there, they die there. So they was never getting outside that bubble. And I just wanted these guys to see that it was more to life than just this small town, 2 red light place that they were from. And that if we was able to do what we did there, man, these guys got some skills and some talents that can take them other places. They just got to be open to doing it, because most guys never left. So that was really the mission and the drive, man. And really, if I handled it well, I can't say I handled it poorly, but I did, I think, the best I could do, knowing where I was at with a young ego, winning, things going my way. But, you know, things tended to take a change for the different coming that senior year. So, you know, we'll talk about that in a minute.
So it sounds like, you know, it's that old saying of, you know, who you're surrounded by will always dictate where you're going, right? You got to have a strong circle, and you got to have like-minded people that are going to take you outside your comfort zone and push you, but always have your best interest at heart. And it seems like at a young age, that's exactly what you did. Now, as you guys are pushing each other, you're playing Madden, you're going to work together, whether it's at school, whether it's at McDonald's, whether it's on the field, you guys are spending all this time together. Now you guys are starting to get some offers when you start to get a little older. What's that look like as more attention is starting to come around, and as you're executing your get out of Arkansas plan in your junior and then senior year?
Bro, at that point, I knew it was possible, and they gave me hope. So really, I wanted to get those guys as close to me as possible, because I knew I was grinding for something bigger. And honestly, I wasn't sure what they was really grinding for. They were just rocking with me. And I knew if a rising tide lifts all ships. So if we won and we balled, not only was I going to get out of that thing, but a lot of those other guys that might not necessarily have a dream as big or a vision as big, they was going to come along too. It was just going to be collateral damage. We always going to win. So after coming out of those camps, man, that summer, I had one camp left right before the season started, and it was to the University of Arkansas, and they invited the top guys in the state to come. Knowing darn well, I was not planning on going to the University of Arkansas. But, you know, you get these visits, you get a chance to go be around the best guys. So, of course, you show up. So I go. That was my second. So I had an unofficial down on the camp up there. But while I was there, man, this camp, you know, I'm there getting a chance to see who the top guys are, because I was going to play a couple of them. McFadden had just got on our schedule that year. So I'm like, oh, bro, that's going to be that game. That's already our guy. So, you know, that's going to be the game, right? And sure enough, bro, we doing some ball drills, and I jump for this ball, come down funny, don't think much of it. But on that ride home, my knee swells up, bro. So I ended up having to go to the doctor, and come to find out I had torn my meniscus. So that pushed me back from the season starting opener. So the first 3 games, he was like, look, conference play, you'll sit out, rehab your knee, get better, let your knee heal. Non-conference play, those who got first 3 games of the season. Conference play start, you come back, we'll finish this, get out of Arkansas playing, we'll ride this thing on out. So that was my game plan. And man, I ended up going down and had a surgery. Where I had the surgery, it ended up being in Monroe, Louisiana, because I was closer to a bigger hospital there than on the Little Rock. And man, I remember getting rolled out of the operating room. I was still a little sedated, but I had this brace on my left leg, and I remember touching it with my left hand, and the doc was like in front of me to my right. I remember feeling this brace, and I kind of looked to the right and I'm like, hey, Doc, what's this brace for? And I wasn't all back, but I can remember feeling the brace and asking that question. And man, he turned to me, Ryan, and said some words that changed the whole trajectory of my life, because he said, that brace, that's for your ACL. And I said, what? Bro, I instantly became obsolete from the football landscape, because I went in for a meniscus surgery, came out with an ACL surgery, a surgery that wasn't even on my radar, that I wasn't even supposed to have, bro.
Wow.
So now all that work, all the grinding, all the game planning, everything I had been working for was completely stripped away from me within a couple hours. And I was devastated, shook, frustrated, bro. And it was crazy, because the first 3 games we go 3-0. I don't come back game 4, we go 4-0. All of a sudden they realize I ain't coming back. We end up losing like 4 or 5 games straight. All those schools that had been courting me on those unofficials, all the small schools went away, because I burnt those bridges. All the big schools finally stopped showing interest. So I became obsolete on the football landscape, and that get out of Arkansas playing, bro, crash burns without me even getting a chance to give it a second go, bro. Devastated. And that was when reality sucked in of everything gonna go how you plan on it going, bro.
Yeah. So how do you make your way back? That's a devastating thing to hear coming out of surgery, and then never getting a chance to have the game that you had circled against McFadden, right? Like, that's the game that you want. And it's somebody that you had looked up, you looked up his stats and saw what he was doing. You said, I have to ball out against this man in order to showcase that I'm the premier running back, right? How do you get back and regain what was taken from you?
I'm gonna tell you that, man. But shout out to McFadden, bro. He balled that game, by the way, bro. I was on the sideline with crutches. He caught a punt, housed that thing doing the deal, and all the way at the sideline, bro. I was devastated. I'm angry, but yeah, shout out to him for that. Anyway, yeah, man. At that point there, man, I just remember all the adversity when I was young, and all the challenges my mom went through. She never settled. Like, she had this relentless pursuit of continual improvement, whatever it was going to take to get us in a better environment, a better situation. She just kept working for it. So I didn't know what I did know, but I didn't know how to quit. I knew how to work. So I said, well, you know what? They said I'm supposed to be out for this whole season. Maybe I just come back this season. Let me do rehab 3 times a day. So I started doing rehab. Supposed to wear this brace, didn't wear the brace. I'm a week out of rehab, doing 3 times a day, over rehabbing, done bust the staples out, knee gets infected. So now I had to take a step back. So they made me slow down my rehab. Cause I'm just like, okay, bro, we'll win. We'll get to the playoffs. I'll be back by the playoffs. I had this delusional Cinderella story in my head. We'll make it to the playoffs. I can come back, win this thing on the back end, some Bowie Miles type stuff, Friday Night Lights. And bro, sure enough, I end up making it back on the field. They didn't give me the ball. Season ends. We 5-6. Don't even make the playoffs. But at this point, I'm like, bro, I got to get out of Arkansas. What's the only sport left? Track around the corner. So I said, all right, cool. We're going to go run track. Well, I get the track. All those cats that was running track, I played against them. So they was expecting me to beat me, come back nice. And I didn't even really like track like that. But when I got out there, I'm like, bro, this may be my only option. So I get out there, I started running, didn't like it, but we were good. And sure enough, doing track, spring season, you get this thing called spring ball that goes on at colleges. And out the blue, bro, place I never visited. I watched them play once. They was actually playing against the team I was rooting for. They was playing against Georgia. It was the University of Tennessee, had a letter in the mail. They came. And they was inviting me up to the spring game, bro. I had never applied, had no clue, bro. And me and my mom sat down. She's like, you want to go? I'm like, of course. So, bro, we packed up the car, bro, and drove from Arkansas all the way to Knoxville, Tennessee. Boring, this longest drive ever. I get there, bro. I had a chance to meet the players, go to the game, meet the coaches. And out of all the campuses I had visited, that one felt different. Some felt different. I don't know, maybe it was just from the humble pie to just having a different perspective of not playing and having this identity crisis of not being an athlete for a whole year and having the deal with who you are outside of this game, or having to deal with what if this thing don't work out. their reality check. Said, hey, man, I got to that campus, it felt different. And I had a chance to go meet the coaches. And I remember walking into the room, and my first thought was, how they know of me? How they even hear about me? And man, we walk in there, and I remember them saying, hey, man, we seen you as a heck of a player. You were actually on film against two guys that were already coming here. So the eye in the sky don't lie. And we know you're a heck of a player. And we heard about your injury. And unfortunately, we don't have a full ride scholarship for you right now because of the injury. But if your knee were to heal and you played to the capability that you're capable of playing, we got a full ride scholarship waiting on you. Bro, they said those words. I said, look, you don't got to tell me nothing. That sign me up. What I need to do, I'm coming. Bro, at that point, it was back to ground zero, betting on myself, putting the house on my back, something to prove, chip on my shoulder, because all the things that had led me to that point, I felt like was took away from me. So at this point, I felt like that was the only option I had. Everything was good and well. It had options, it had opportunities. And then when I got down to zero, I think you either make a break or you either play or you fold. And just where seeing my mom as an example when I was young, I didn't know no other choice but to better myself. So at that point, bro, I didn't even know what requirement was for getting into school. I hadn't even applied none of that stuff. I just signed me up. So that's how that process went, bro. And we got the rolling. I was enrolled and on campus 9 months after ACL surgery, bro, in the middle of the summer. I'm there.
Yeah. That's how you bounce back, and you said it, you not only were you surrounded by your teammates that had the same type of mentality that you kind of helped structure, right? You said you wanted to surround yourself with dudes that had that same type of work, that dog mentality. But, the thing that I'm hearing you come back to is how much your mom had no quit, and how much you saw her work and how much you saw everything she was doing. So what type of, I kind of want you to dig in a little bit more of like, what type of conversations you had with your mom, because she's not out there on the field with you. She's, she could be in the gym with you, but she can't lift that weight with you. You know what I mean? So what type of conversations did you have with your mom? Because it sounds like she had a really big impact on you, bigger than what any coach or any teammate could really have.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because my mom still don't even understand the game of football to this day, bro. She would just support and show up and be there. But the actions, I'm seeing a single lady raise 3 kids, having to work, having to hustle, all those things, and make no excuses and getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
I see us stay in government houses. I see us stay in projects. I seen us have to move. I seen us take the MARTA. I seen us have to walk to places. I seen her put, hey, making sure your house was together, making sure your lights was on and you had hot water versus you out here trying to impress some people by these clothes that you think you're supposed to get for Christmas to go to school and look good for the first day of school. No, you just didn't get no clothes. Like I seen her put priorities, keep the main thing. So knowing that when I got hurt and then this opportunity came to look, this was on the table. I'm like, well, bro, she ain't quit on all this other stuff and we've made it. Why would I quit now? Like mm-hmm. It's probably going to work out if I just put my head down and grind. She had this relentless pursuit of continual improvement, and everything had always worked out. Like as bad as things was, we wasn't dead. Like as bad as things was, we were still alive. Like as bad as things were, we still found food. As bad as things were, we still managed to live another day. So at that point, bro, it was like, bro, you ain't got no choice. Like this is the test. And one of the things that happened during that rehab time frame, bro, I was doing rehab 3 times a day. And my mom said this is like, I found this out like 5 years ago, bro. She said she walked by the room and seen me on the bed with the bending machine, bending my knee back and forth, crying. And she didn't say nothing. And I asked her why. She said, well, I never wanted to push you too hard because if you wanted to play it, you want it, go get it. If you didn't want to play, you didn't want it, don't worry about it. But whatever you wanted to do, I just had your back and I had your support. And it was just up to you to decide how bad you really wanted it. But in that moment, when I was on that doing rehab, bro, I remember sitting there. I was frustrated. And I asked this question. I said, why God? Why me? Why? Mm-hmm. And I remember asking that question, bro. And now I tell people, be careful what you ask for because you never know what answer you may get. And I remember hearing vividly, man, he said, I gave you that stage for the glorification of my kingdom, and you was using it for your own purpose, ambitions, reasons, and goals. So I had to take it away from you to get your attention. And bro, I didn't understand it then. I just knew if I ever got another stage, it wouldn't be all about me. And that goes back to that question you asked me earlier. How did I handle it? I'm not probably sure I handled it well because, you're young, you're arrogant, you got an ego. And my Get Out Arkansas plan is working. So I wasn't giving him the glory for that stage that he was giving me and the opportunity he was providing. And, bro, somebody get my attention. He got it when he took it away. And from that point moving forward, I knew it was bigger than me and I was here for a purpose. I just wasn't sure. And over years, it finally came together. But really, man, mom was she just had this, she didn't live vicariously through me. If I wanted to do something, she said, okay, do it. And then let me go do it. If I didn't want to do it, she didn't try to make me do it because it was of her own interest. At the end of the day, she was kind of hands off, but the action spoke louder.
Yeah. So when you commit to Tennessee, you're ready to go, everything's healed up, you're ready to go. When you get to campus, how much of a culture shock is it? How much different is it? Because you had been in Atlanta, you had been in Arkansas, and now you're in Tennessee. How much of a culture shock is it on campus?
I'm going to give you some real. This how God be working, man. He took me out of Atlanta where it was all black, down to Griffin where we had a little bit of mixture, to Arkansas where I was the minority. Like, I'm like, what? So when I got to University of Tennessee, I was used to talking to people that didn't look like me. I was used to being around people that looked like me. And it was still a little weird, but I was used to it. Like he was preparing me. It was the craziest thing, bro. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna put you over here so you can get ready for this over here. So when I got there, it was probably still a newer field to some degree, but he had put me in that environment when I was in Arkansas. So I had a chance to have a culture adjustment and not be around people that looked like me, talk like me, that was from the same backgrounds and doing the same things I was from. So that was probably the biggest blessing in disguise. So when I came in, man, coming in with the number one recruiting class in the country, we were ranked number 3 in the country. I got a chip on my shoulder. Plus, I got to prove I belong here. And plus, I need to go ahead and take them up on their word. I want to force their hand as fast as possible because we can't even afford no other options. So it was one of those things. Go in there and get the work, really, man. It was go get the work. The culture shock had already happened in Arkansas, so I was kind of led into it by the grace of God on the front end. So that really didn't even phase me, bro. Unlike some of my teammates.
Yeah. So when you get there, obviously the plan is always, for athletes, the plan is always football, right? But you at this point right now, you've written books about the transition. Were you thinking about your transition out of sports coming in as a 18, 19-year-old freshman, or was it, I'm going to go in, I'm going to ball, I'm going to get a college degree, I'm going to go to NFL, and that's it?
Oh, bro, it was go in, ball, get this scholarly, and then go to the league. The whole idea of a college degree, bro, I never thought about it. The whole idea of graduating, never thought about it. First in the family to go, like those things never came on my radar. However, that first year, when I'm tearing my ACL in high school, and all of a sudden I missed my whole senior year, I went through an identity crisis. I had to live with myself not being a ball player. That was my first time not being relevant in the sports stance, in the sports category that gave me that ego, that gave me that pride. So that was my first death to self, bro. Like I died once, my identity, and I had to figure out who I was outside of what I did. So now I'm coming in with this chip on my shoulder. I get there and the things I got to prove, but I seen a lot of guys that were juniors, seniors that were nice. And I seen guys that had left, and all of a sudden I seen them coming back. And I'm like, okay, he was nice. Why he coming back? Okay, he was nice. Why he coming back? And then I started to realize, man, this whole NFL, they said it not for long. So guys got not signed, free agent, undrafted, cut, injured, all the variables. And I realized they came back to school, not because they like going to class, because they didn't go to class in the first place. They came back because it was a safe place. They came back because they had to figure out what was next for them. They came back because they weren't sure who they were outside of playing that game, and there weren't a lot of options. So that was a good place to figure it out. School's a good place to figure it out. So I'm like, well, crap, if he's that nice and he coming back, what if this thing don't work out? I already had 1 year not been an athlete. Who am I outside of this game? Who am I outside of off the field? And that's where the light bulb went off. And I said, you know what? I can't isolate myself just to this south side of campus where all the athletes hang out at. I need to make sure I meet the other 26,000 students that's on campus, because eventually they're going to all leave and all of them ain't trying to go to the league. So I need to have relationships and networks and be in their inner circles. So when the opportunity presented itself, they would know me as not just being an athlete on the field, but somebody they can relate to. We had conversation with, and maybe we talked about something that was more deeper than touchdowns and extra points and parties and stuff like that. So that's when it all kind of triggered, due to the fact that my identity had already kind of ripped away from me once before, and I had a chance to see it happen to guys while I was there, and this was real life to them. They run out of options. It just happened to be a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So you had the chance to see it as a as a youngster, and when you got to your opportunity, it was, okay, I have to figure this out now, because if I have to figure it out, then it's going to hit a lot harder than anything else. Right. So as you go throughout your career in college and the graduation piece starts to, kind of seep in the back of your mind, something that you weren't thinking about. Cause, as athletes, when you grow up, you're watching, we're watching Dion, we're watching Emmitt Smith, or watching all these guys play. You're like, I'm going to do that. Right. I want to run 99 yards for a touchdown like Tony Dorsett. I want to do these things. And you're not thinking about, hey, I'm going to have my master's degree when I do it. Right. But now you're there. You have these degrees. You have everything now. As you went through your junior year, your senior year, what were these thoughts of, okay, this is something that I can do off the field. This is where my talents are going to take me. That doesn't involve a helmet and cleats. What were some of those thoughts?
Bro, so how that came together, man, the whole graduation piece was kind of crazy. But it started to register. First camp I go to, come out, go to coach. Hey, coach, can I get my full ride scholarship? They say no. Okay, cool. Maybe I was a little early. I was 3 months on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Second year, go through camp, come out of camp, got bigger, got stronger, got faster, go to coach. Say, hey, coach, can I get my full ride scholarship? They say no. Now I'm starting to get a little frustrated. I'm like, hold on, bro. I think I'm nice enough. I'm outdoing some of the guys y'all already got here. What's the deal? And then I started to realize, okay, it's a little business to this thing. Why would they go ahead and give me a scholarship? I'm already here. They already got me. All right, maybe I need to transfer. Well, some of my credits ain't going to transfer. And then you got to go down a division. So I'm like, no, that ain't a good deal. Me in class already don't work out like that anyway. But in the midst of this whole class thing, I realized that I can't waste reps in the classroom. I can't take classes that don't count. So I went to my advisor and said, look, don't put me in nothing that don't count towards me graduating, and then don't count towards my degree. And I won't drop none. I won't fail any. After a stats class, I say, okay, I need to get a major that don't involve no more math, because I thought I was good at math until I started having letters in it. So at that point, I changed that major to to legal studies. It was all papers. I thought, okay, I can write papers. Legal studies, I go to the league, I can represent myself. So now they can't penalize me for my thoughts if I'm writing papers. So that eliminated the challenging classes. So now all of a sudden I'm taking, you're there year round. So I'm taking these classes. I'm not dropping any. I'm not failing any. Man, sure enough, they come up, hey, man, you got to get ready to register to graduate. I'm like, what does that mean? you finna graduate. I'm like, but I still got time to play. They're like, yeah, you just take more classes or you can get your master's. I'm like, what? And that's the first time it hit. So at this point here, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to be the first to graduate. Well, what classes can I take after this that don't involve me taking a test to get into them? And they gave me this list of classes, and they gave me this list of master programs. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to be here. Why not just try to get a master's?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, moving forward, I'm going down the list. I seen sports psychology. I'm like, that sounds interesting. And sure enough, bro, it helped me understand the game and the thought process of the game while I was playing. So I ended up graduating with my master's in sports psychology. So it was one of those things. It happened by default, but really it was a kicker probably in 2006, that particular year, when my good friend Inky Johnson got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a chance to go to the hospital. And this was things kind of shifted. And on that hospital visit, Coach Slade had asked him, Ink, how you feeling as we walking into the hospital room? I'm like 4 guys back. His response hit me like a ton of bricks, bro. I'm walking in, everybody ain't even in the room yet. And Coach Slade said, Ink, how you feeling? And Ink said, Coach, I'm at peace. And it hit me because I'm like, bro, I'm mad, frustrated. Like, why they didn't give me this scholar yet? I want to transfer. but the grades ain't going to transfer. I got to take more classes. Like all these things I had to transfer down. He almost lost his life. His arm was paralyzed. He's never going to play this game again. He was at peace. So I'm sitting there like, bro, I need to chill out. Whatever piece he got, I need to tighten up and get that piece. And that's for the second time. That's when it hit me. I was so busy focused on my own purpose, selfish ambitions, goals, and what I wanted. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, so I wasn't getting what I was supposed to be getting. So in the middle of my mess, I was missing the message that God had gave me for the second time. He gave it to me once in high school, and I was focused on myself. He gave it to me again during Ink's injury because I was focused on myself in that scholarly. And at that point, moving forward, bro, I decided to stop being all about me, be a better teammate, be a better student, be a better leader. And when I start focusing on being a better all around and giving my all for the University of Tennessee, I added enough value from a business perspective. I added so much value to the program, from the field to the classroom to grades, because I care about those things. Man, they ended up giving me my full ride scholarship at the University of Tennessee, and that's how the thing worked out. And I was able to get what I wanted. But in my default, I ended up getting way more than I even thought about, bro. By getting my bachelor's and my master's all in the same time.
Yeah. That's a testament to putting in the work right there. That's really what that is. That's a full testament to putting in the work. You know, you made the pivots and the changes you had to in the classroom to get your degree, to graduate, become the first in your family to do it. And then you had, you know, the on-field things you had to worry about. So it was almost like you had to take care of the things off the field in order to get what you wanted on the field. And you really took care of that. And, you know, it's, you know, the story about Ink, I mean, everybody knows who he is these days. And it's almost like you were the first person he inspired before he even started giving these speeches, right?
Man, that's my dog, man. Yeah, man, that's real. That's real. I mean, we used to do DB drills. So from him getting hurt, like he said, man, the story, I lived it as he's talking about it, man. From coming back 3 days later, we used to do sand pits. He in the dumb boy sling and the Velcro strap, bro. Like, so that was the stuff we put that work in. He came back. He was on the coaching staff my senior year, bro. So it was crazy because we were from being in the same meeting rooms, to being in the same meeting rooms. I call him Coach J because he ended up being on that interim coach staff my senior year. So the grind is real, bro. Even to this entrepreneur stuff, we did stuff together before anybody knew what he was doing, bro. So You're right, but that happened. We talked about it since then, but when that happened, he wasn't even like that. Wasn't even his intention.
Yeah. Especially, you know, he's being wheeled into the hospital, and he's saying he's at peace, and that's already resonating with you. You know, there's his calling right there coming through in these moments. You're his first student, basically, is what it is what I'm hearing. So, you know, that's, I mean, I listen to that man all the time, and, you know, he's actually on a track that I listen to as I'm warming up for my workouts when I'm getting in the gym. So that's huge. You know, it's really cool to hear. And, you know, now you guys are doing this entrepreneurial thing, right? And you've written a couple of books. Where did the inspiration come from to transition, you know, with, you know, no pun intended with that being part of the title, but where did that come from, the transition to becoming an author and an entrepreneur and doing the things in the mental health space that you do with On Rise and all these other different corporations?
Man, I believe a lot of times the athletes, we put a label on ourselves and put ourselves in this box. And in that process of senior year, junior year, and seeing guys come back and get a chance to network and be around different individuals, I got exposed to opportunities that you can do other things and still make life-changing type income and take care of your family. So when I started seeing guys in the sales space as entrepreneurs, I just started thinking, self-reflect, man, like what skill set is the game giving us that can be used in a different field of our life? And what skill sets do I have that I may be putting a label on or not even cultivating or not even using? And after a period of time, man, I just started to realize maybe I was a guy breaking the huddles in high school, and getting the guys, leading them in the chance and leading them on the fields for a period of time. Like, and guys always came for me to pour into them. So I was impacting guys and inspiring guys along the time. Maybe I was a inspiration disguised as an athlete, disguised as a football player. Maybe I was an entrepreneur disguised as an athlete or a football player. Maybe I was a salesperson disguised as a football player or an athlete. So I realized when you start removing these labels, there's a lot of intangible things that you do really well that can be applied off the field, off the track, off the court, out the pool. And it's so normal to you when you get into another space, it makes you elite. And a lot of people don't get a chance to do that. A lot of people don't get a chance to put reps in. You put so many reps in at your particular craft, it's normal to you that you're good at it. But when you get into a corporate space or a different space, people don't have a chance to practice split-second decisions, making decisions on a dime. People don't get a chance to practice reaction. People don't get a chance to practice how they're going to handle big wins, how they're going to handle big losses. People don't get a chance to practice how they're going to be resilient. People don't get a chance to practice handling failure. People don't get a chance to practice success. As an athlete, you get a chance to practice that stuff so much. Some of those things are so natural to you, you don't even realize it's a value add. So when I started seeing all these different things, I'm like, well, man, if this thing don't work out, it was some guys in the sales space, entrepreneur space, and man, maybe I can do that. And at some point in time, when it finally came down to it, man, hurt my shoulder my senior year, didn't want to have shoulder surgery. Heard it again at the pro day that they had, the combine that they had at the school, because we had Eric Berry coming out, so everybody and their mom was there. And at that point, I'm like, bro, that's 6 months just to rehab. Then you got 6 months recovery to rehab in that place. So that's a whole year. Then you got to be able to get on the squad. So I'm like, all right, the time frame don't make a lot of sense, but what things can I take and actually go do something else with that I learned from the game? So when I made that transition out, man, it was really, all right, let's get into the sales space, entrepreneur space, and just take everything I learned from the game, see can we go apply it. And that first time around, I necessarily didn't. I got into sales. And the first 3 months I had some success, but they didn't tell me about slow season and taxes and chargebacks. So I had no idea that if they cancel on you, they're going to charge you back for the money that you thought you was going to get. And I had no idea how the tax part works. So sure enough, man, I'm trying to help my mom's out. Some things happening at the house. I thought I had this money coming in. It don't come in. And I'm in a tight spot. And at that point there, that was like that aha moment. I had to ask myself, hey, what made me a lead in sports? And that's when the whole transition formula came to mind. It was T plus C plus C equals ST. What are all those things that I went through in my life and from sports, good, bad, ugly, indifferent? What can I take away from all those lessons? So I had to think about all those messes that I had, all the messes that had the challenges, adversity, the struggles. What was the message to take away from all those things? And then two, how do all those things carry over right now the way I'm at in my life? And once I realized how some of those things from the game could carry over to sales, I had to get to number three to see how can I correlate them and apply them. And once I did that, I had an ST, a successful transition. And sure enough, man, I got into that sales space. Film study was one of the biggest things, my preparation and film study. So I took the same process that we would do from our, you get your scouting report to watching film, to doing a walkthrough, to practicing reviewing it, and then practice so you can't get a wrong game. So I took that same thought process. I had to learn the steps to the sale, the company credibility. I ended up practicing it with reps that worked with us, and we would record it. And I would go back and listen to the recordings, watch the recordings, make my adjustments, my corrections, go back, do it again. And I would do that so much. I wanted to practice with those reps who couldn't buy anything from me. So when I got in front of a customer who could, it was like game day. And man, sure enough, I ended up becoming one of the top of the company, duplicated that with a couple other young cats, and it worked. And when it worked, I said, ain't no way this thing worked like this. Why ain't every athlete doing this? And at that point moving forward, that's when it hit. Like, bro, you need to take this formula, and this is what every athlete needs to know, because they got it built in. It's just never been explained in the athletic lingo where they understand it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is for athletes, we live such structured lives, right? You're up by 5. You're doing a film study by 6, right after breakfast, and then you have lift, then you have walkthrough, then you have class. After class, you have another lift, and then you got practice, and then you get home, and that's when you finally get to your schoolwork, and then you got to do it all over again. And excuse me, every single hour of your day is structured. You get maybe 30 minutes in there to truly relax and just take a breather, right? So much of life is structured that when you can transition that and apply it into your adult life, and that's why so many people like having athletes as employees, because they're used to that structured life. They're used to, making split decisions. They're very good at decision making. So, seeing, the transition you made by taking what you've learned throughout your structured athlete lifestyle and applying it and then passing it on. I mean, that's huge. And that's what everyone aspires to be able to do. Now we're at the portion of the interview I like to call 5 questions. It's going to be 5 pretty quick questions, kind of going down memory lane a little bit, but then we're going to end with a little bit of just imparting wisdom. So first question for you is what's a game that you will never forget, whether it be high school, college, what's a game for you will never forget, either good or bad?
Man, I got a couple, but I would land that with the my senior year, the black jersey game we wore against South Carolina on Halloween. That game, fans traditionally don't like to go against anything traditionally in Knoxville. And Coach Kiffin went out on a limb, man. We had a team meeting. And he said, y'all got my back. We were like, yeah, Coach. We had no clue what he was talking about. And he was like, this is what we going to do. And he showed us the jerseys, bro. We went nuts. That was on a Friday. Those guys lost that day. They lost on Friday. Just because we was going to be super swaggy, and we knew we had to win for him. And he was letting us look good. And Deion said, you look good, you play good. So that was half of the battle, man. So when we came out that tunnel, we came out in the orange, and we came back out in the black, and the Jumbotron saw it, bro. The place it erupted, bro. I get chills talking about it. It was electric. That was probably one of the most electric feelings from just, we didn't even hit the field yet, but you knew you was gonna win. So that one right there, that one I would give that one right there, bro.
Yeah. Who's a player that had probably the biggest impact, or even coach that had the biggest impact on you?
Man, that's tough, because I played with Eric Berry and Inky Johnson. So the dynamics are a little different, because bro, the ball just came, like, it's crazy. Like, people see him as one of the best safeties to play the game and just think it was natural, but the guy put in work. So it was really cool to see you can have all this natural skill set, but the work ethic that's behind it, the mindset, that warrior mentality. So that right there, then he's happened to be from the A, and then Ink from the A. So the mindset of my guys that was in the DB room that I had a chance to spend a lot of time with, that just relentless mindset and that winner warrior mentality, those, man, I was around them in the trenches. So I guess from playing with them and being around them on a regular basis, that'd be a toss up, bro. Because just the mindset it takes to win on the field, that whole mindset it takes to win in life when you're going through challenges, adversity, struggles, it correlates and it carries over. And that's who you are. I said, it ain't no switch for being a dog. Like, the switch is always on. And getting a chance to be around those guys was definitely one of the biggest blessings.
Yeah. So you talked about a play where your helmet got turned all around, and it was that switch got flipped on for you, whether it was going to be me or him, right? What's a play, maybe a highlight of yours that you'll never forget, and it's something that when you watch football now, you're like, man, I remember doing that. I remember that play that I had that looked similar to that. What's that play for you?
And it's kind of funny. So as a few to come around, but one, back in the day, we used to have the wedge, where they could have a wedge on kickoff.
Can't do that no more.
Yeah, can't do that no more. It's crazy. It's kind of stupid. But there was one, we playing Georgia, and they put them big boys on that wedge.
Yeah.
And normally, I'm on the outside. At this particular time, I have to be on the inside, and I'm coming down and bro, the wedge right in front of me. So that moment of that linebacker going through that hole and me hitting in my head, like, that's one of those moments that hit. So now I'm like, oh, bro, I'm the first one here. Well, it's gonna be me, it's gonna be them. There's 4 of them.
Yeah.
I'm a buck 95. They at least 240. And bro, it was number 45. I think he was a fullback or a tight end. And bro, I'm like, all right, here you go. Boom, bro. Split the wedge. He shook him. I'm like, what? Bro, that moment right there, I'm like, bro, I don't know how you stripping. You got caught slipping because y'all all, but yeah, broke the wedge, bro. We made the play. That moment right there was pretty crazy, because I'm like, I remember that was kind of like running through that hole, blocking for my fullback and getting cracked. I'm like, bro, here we go. And normally, we got a couple crazy guys. Linebackers is always down there first. I just happened to be right there at that time. And it was like, bro, what in the world? These some big boys. So that was one of those moments right there, because he got up. When he got up, he tried to talk, but he was a little dazed. So it was great. Somebody got a picture of it too. Somebody actually got a picture of that and sent it to me. I had no clue who it was. It randomly got a picture, like years later of that particular place. So that one was a good one. Cause I'm like, bro, that was one. That one to test you just a little bit back in the day when you had that wedge. Mm-hmm. They gonna crush you or you gonna crush it. Normally it don't work out for everybody that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. You usually get hit by a couple of them. You can't really zero in on just one of them. You usually get hit by a couple because they could actually hold hands back then. They can't even do that no more.
They were holding. I just caught her the right, bro. Yeah. So I like that because I survived. They don't happen like that on a regular basis, bro.
Yeah. So as a professional, outside of sports, as a professional, what would you say is your proudest moment? Is it your book? Is it, transitioning into mental health? What was one of your proudest moments as a professional outside of athletics?
Man, that's a good one right there, bro. I could say the book because it adds value to people that I may never meet. Mm-hmm. And then the feedback that I get. However, I think honestly, it may be, I grew up in Southwest Atlanta, and I always didn't necessarily want the sharpest tool in the box. I want the dullest tool, but being able to hone your craft, your skill set, and now when you're able to get paid to speak, people to hear your words and your opinions and your thoughts. I think that's probably one of them right there, just because it removes the excuses for anybody that's coming from where I come from or anybody that's coming from the same demographics, because you can always add value to yourself. And the moment you add more value to yourself, you can add more value to others, where I never thought somebody would pay you to hear your thoughts and your opinions. And it can be a career, you can make a living. So the fact that that's a thing and I'm able to do that, it's crazy to me. It's a blessing. It's crazy because I think about football the same way, man. We did that for free in the backyard and on the sidewalks and on the concrete. And if you do that long enough and get at it, they will pay you a lot of money to go do that. Now, at this point, you're banging your body up, but it's crazy, the thought process of what's real life and what people get paid to do. It's crazy. So that's one of the things I always tell a lot of young people. Think about that thing that you're really good at, that you would do for fun and you do for free, and it's probably somebody getting paid to do it. So when you're to make your transition, think about that particular thing, because it's somebody on this planet that's probably getting paid to do that. And if you do it for free, you do it for fun, it wakes you up early, keeps you up late, you probably can get paid to do the exact same thing. And that's probably one of those purposes or skill sets that you have that you don't even think about.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it takes me right into my last question of, what's a piece of advice that you have been, maybe it was an epiphany moment for you or somebody said to you that has really resonated with you that you think that next generation should definitely know?
Man, I got a lot. First one that comes to mind though is don't wish it was easy, wish you were better. I believe it's going to be a lot of life that's going to happen to them, and we're going to wish situations were easier, things came a different way. But really, most of the time in my life when things worked out, I just got better at it. And one of the things I concluded, man, life don't get harder. Life don't get easier. We just get better at handling hard better. Like, it's nothing going to get easier. You just skill up, get your mindset right, your focus right, your discipline right. You do those small things compounded over time, and that thing that was hard to you is not as hard because you just got better, and so you handle hard better versus thinking that things gonna get easier. It looks easier to the average person, or it looks easier to someone else, just like the game done taught us. That back pedal, that planting, that goal, that being able to drop on the pivot, drop on the down, like all those things look easier when you see Dion do it because he got better at that skill set. It looks easier when you looking up somebody else that's been doing it for a period of time because they got better at that skill set. But at one point in time, they wasn't. So if you focus in on those things that are hard to you, those challenges, and you work on developing yourself as a person in those areas that you can develop at, you learn how to handle hard better, because life is not going to slow down just because it's you. Life is not going to roll over and say, no, you got it just because it's you. Like, that's not how this thing works. So in the midst of all the challenges, the adversities, you got to realize that whatever you do at some point in time, you might not be the best at it. But if you focus on those those things, those skill set, the mindset, those intangibles, eventually you'll handle hard better, and that thing will look easier to you, and you'll be able to do it easier. And at some point in time, you'll be able to relay that message to somebody else and help them get better as well. Because at the end of the day, like the same wind blows on us all. The only difference in arrival is the set of the sail. So the wind gonna blow. You just got to set your sail better. And the moment you set the sail in the direction that you want to go, this is the time you start going in that direction. If not, you go the opposite direction every single time.
Man, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with me. It's always fun every time we get a chance to chat. Like I said, when we met in Vegas at the conference, I said, man, this man, he's going to be doing a lot of really incredible things. And I'm really happy that I got a chance to bring you on. Before I let you go, I want you to let everybody know what's the title of the book, where they can find the book, where they can find you on social media, give us the full gambit of platforms that you're on and you're part of. Before, like I said, I'm gonna let you get the last word. So give us all the knowledge of Derrick Furlow before we let you go.
Man, they can find me on IG, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook at Derrick, DERRICK, Furlow, FURLOW Jr, JR. Website, DerrickFurlow.com and SLBtheagency.com. That's the agency for the athlete by the athlete. So we can help athletes with this NIL deal initiative in the mental health space. So all those platforms on YouTube, feel free to get some daily inspiration. But yeah, everything's at Derrick Furlow Jr. Thanks for having me, Ryan, man. It's been a blessing, brother. Thankful for you and what you're doing. And love this platform, man. Y'all keep up the great work.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Athletes to Athletes podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. To engage with everything the A2A platform has to offer, go to the App Store and search Athletes to Athletes to download our new app. You can check out our educational material, and you'll ensure that you don't miss when a new episode of the A2A podcast drops. Again, thank you for listening. We'll see you again next time.